Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? My name is Rob Carmona, and welcome back to another episode of Rob the Mic. Thank you so much for all the love on last week's episode. Honestly, I had no idea people were going to be so receptive to me talking about my culinary past or how I got involved with it or where it came from. And it was cool. It was a pleasant surprise. And I got a couple questions that I wanted to start off today's episode. So I figured it was only right. And the first one that I got was how food led me into art. And honestly, I touched on it a tiny bit. And the biggest deciding factor was when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. It didn't have to be for the rest of my life, but at the time, especially when I was a lot younger, that's how I felt, right? Like I was like, okay, you're gonna make one decision and this is what you're gonna do for the rest of your life. So when I started to think about things and kind of lay it out all on the table, I said, okay, do I wanna, as much as I love cooking, I love it. I love cooking. Baking is rad too. But is this something that I want to do for somebody for the rest of my life? And granted, I wanted to open a restaurant and I still do. I still want to jump into the culinary space and I will at some point. But I really started to push back and think about, is that something that I wanted to do? And was I going to be happy? Because ultimately, if I, not trying to say if I didn't want to be happy for the rest of my life, that I had options, but I kind of did. So I have a lot of family that's involved in the medical field, and I could have always gone that route. I have a couple cousins that are surgeons, and I thought about it. I toyed with the idea. Like, okay, well, maybe I go into med school. I run that path, go into it, maybe be like a cardiologist or something like that, and just kind of run about it. It's something I could do. If you give me a book, I can read it, I can study it, I'll pass the test. It's not a big deal for me. That's something I've always been pretty lucky with. As long as I have a book, I have some sort of frame of reference, I can retain the information pretty well. But I wasn't going to be happy doing that. I didn't want to do, not that I don't want to help people, because I think in some way of the form or some way of the sense, however you say that, I do want to help. I want to help people. I want to help people do something, whether it's like find happiness or just bring smiles to people's faces. And food was always a big source of that. But my thing was, art did the same thing for me. And when I started to kind of step back at the time, I was like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe art can really take me there. Maybe art can give me what I need, and in turn, I can give it to other people. And not that food didn't have that same kind of reach, but I think art and the art that I was trying to do, specifically graphic design, because I knew I wanted to be in graphic design even prior to jumping into graphic design, because I was already dabbling in it. I just didn't know what it was called when I was in high school. So when I jumped into that space, I said, you know what? This kind of reach, this is where I want to be at. You know, social media wasn't a thing then, but I used to love doing party flyers and stuff like that. So that kind of work, it made me think so much bigger, because I was like, dang, people would go to certain things, or people were curious about certain things based on flyers. I remember that being huge, right? Like if we were going to go to a flyer party at somebody's house or warehouse or something, if the flyer was tight, you're like, oh, dude, for sure. And that's marketing, right? Little did I know that's marketing. That's how you get people to see things, how you get people to do things. And granted, now in the age that we're in with social media, it's changed everything, right? Our whole world has been turned upside down. And going and seeing that kind of thing happen, it really shifted the way I thought about stuff. And of course, the conversation that I mentioned last week as well that I had with the chef prior to going to culinary school. So I said, you know what? I think I'm going to leave cooking as a passion project, as something that I carry with me for the rest of my life. And as far as graphic design goes, if I hone in on my skills, if I really get down on it, I know I can go somewhere with it. And I know it can give me exactly what I need. So I'm glad that I went that path, because it was everything that I needed then. It's everything I need right now. It gave me a sense of structure. It gave me a sense of purpose within the art space. Cause I think it's really easy to get lost within art, because it's so ominous. It's so big. There's so much that can happen. There's so much you can do with so many different mediums. And I needed somewhat of like a guiding light. And in food, I had that guiding light. I knew where I wanted to end up. I knew what I wanted to do. I had multiple paths that I could go down. But for art, I didn't have that. All I had was just like loose frames of reference, and those loose frames weren't enough, and I had to hone in on them. So going to art school really gave me that. It gave me the tools, and having the mentors that I did and the people that looked after me, they're the ones who taught me what I needed to know, and they pushed me to get to a point to where I am today, which I'm very, very, very thankful. Very, very thankful to have been in the presence of some of these people, to have experienced, to have learned from them. And honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I don't regret any of it. As difficult as it was, and it, honestly, art school, which I've said it multiple times on here, and I know you guys are probably tired of it, but for those of you guys, if this is your first episode, going to art school was the probably most difficult scholastic experience that I've had. Because it wasn't the type of thing where, like I was talking about with med school, where they give you a book, you read these things, you learn how to do this stuff, and then you regurgitate it on a test, and then you pass. It wasn't that type of thing. There were certain skills that you learn, right, from like a scholastic standpoint, but you have to be able to apply them in a personal way, whether it's with branding or, you know, anything that we were working on, photo, cinema, anything like that. It has to translate. Your skills have to translate, and it translates into something so personal. It's not just objective. It's not like, okay, this is this and that's it. You know, this mouse is black. It's not that kind of thing, because art makes everything muddy. It makes everything very, very questionable, because you can sell it any which way you want. But I needed the tools to be able to do that, because I think if you're going to be out there breaking the rules, the only way you can break the rules is if you kind of know them in the first place. And I actually remove the kinda, like you have to know them in the first place, because you got to know what's going on. Because then there's a rhyme and reason to breaking things. It's one thing you just kind of run around and you're doing whatever you want. But then when you learn what it is that most people do wrong, you're like, oh, I get it. And there's a way to break the rules where you break it the right way and it still somehow works. And I think the biggest part that I learned that was with typography, because I didn't understand that. I mean, I didn't know any of the rules of type. And then when I ended up focusing on it in school, I said, I understand now. I get it. But there's no way I would have learned that. Maybe at some point I would have come across certain terms, but I wouldn't have learned it to the extent that I did. So I'm, again, very fortunate. Very, very fortunate. But that in itself is essentially how food led me to art and kind of like reignited it in a certain way. So after that sort of like, actually, I'm not even going to say after that, like reignition into art, but I was kind of jumping into cars at the same time, like at a really heavy level. I mean, I was already into it. I've been, right, since I was a kid. And I had my 240 when I turned 18. So that was really rad. And I again, was into it. But I didn't fully start jumping into the scene until just before I started art school. Like I was working, I was doing my thing. I had my car, I was fixing it up. But it wasn't the same type of like of love, of understanding. And I hadn't, like, I guess how could you say that? I hadn't dived as deep as I thought that I would. But it's weird how all these things kind of like intertwine, right? Like food led me deeper into art, which led me deeper into cars, which somehow led me deeper into art. And it's just like this weird cycle that keeps going back and forth. And I mean, food has never gone away. If anything, that love has gotten stronger, because it was a way that I could constantly express myself. In my most stress of moments of anything that had happened throughout my life, especially within school, I always had food to fall back on. You know, I had a really rough day or a rough time, I could let it out in the kitchen. Sometimes my food would be a little spicy. Sometimes it'd be a little this, a little that. But I was able to express myself that way. And I was very, very lucky to be able to do so. But it's weird how all those things kind of happen, right? Like you think you're going to take one path in life, and then it kind of points you down another direction, which points you down another direction. And then somehow it like daisy chains backwards, because you're like, well, this is linked to this, which is linked to this, which I started with. But how is that still linked to the end somehow? And it's weird, and I think that's kind of what my life is right now. Is just as I'm getting older, I'm having to connect the dots and connect the chain links because things have fallen apart, right? It's been really rough the last couple months, and I'm trying my best to gain my balance and find a ground to walk on. So I'm having to reassess and kind of go through all these things that I've already gone through and things that I've had to deal with throughout my life. So kind of recapping on that from last week, like when I got the idea from someone to do food on last week's episode, I said, man, I feel like this is going to open a can of worms in a good way. Because I mean, I love getting deep and talking into all these subjects that I'm into with you guys because it's exciting. It's exciting. It's cool. And I feel like we can connect on a deeper level and people can kind of understand where I'm coming from. And the next question that I got was about people that I recommended on YouTube, or who do I recommend to watch regarding food on YouTube. And I know I had mentioned Matty Matheson because I think he opened up my culinary YouTube world, because I didn't really watch too many people on YouTube. I wasn't that kind of person, and nor did I have anyone that I really looked up to or just kind of idealized in that way and wanted to see what they were doing. It wasn't for me. And then randomly I kind of stumbled across it and I never left. So I think Matty, number one, go look at his food stuff. It's all over the place. It's everywhere. He has stuff on YouTube. He has stuff on Viceland. Everything that's on Viceland, you guys, is phenomenal. Like life-changing. That guy is he's so beautiful as a human being. Just what he does, what he stands for, the way he treats his family, his friends, like just the amount of love that man has is just, I can't even describe it. There's not enough words to describe him. And I don't know him. I wish I did, because I'd tell him this to his face. And somehow if he ends up seeing this, dude, Matty, you're it. Like 110%, dude. Like absolutely inspiring. And I watch him constantly to see what he's doing. And it's amazing to see where he's gone and how he's made it to this point. Because he was just some dude making wild, amazing food on YouTube to now being on national TV. Like, he was on the news the other day for the award ceremonies that just passed. And I'm just like, what? Like, this is crazy, dude. And the Bears over here winning, awards. I think it was like Emmys or something like that. And just, he's killing it. Absolutely killing it. And I'm like, all right, yeah, this man. And it all started from food, And also, I really fuck with his story, too, because it's a heavy one. It's not all like roses and daisies and that he just, oh, yeah, I was cooking one day and picked up a camera. Like, no, it was nothing like that. The struggles that he went through it's something super admirable to see where he's made it to today. So I will forever follow his career, forever making his recipes because they're amazing. Go get his cookbooks, go buy all his food shit because it's the fucking best. Like, plain and simple, it's the best. He breaks things down and shows you techniques that are so important. And that's the whole thing, right? It's like I was talking about art. You got to learn the rules before you can break them. And Matty teaches you the rules and then exactly how to break them and why you would break them on certain times and certain things with certain dishes. And he's the man, dude. He teaches you how to freestyle. And I think that's where it's at. People like that who have that sort of ability to teach you how to freestyle, they're gifts. They are gifts, 110%. Like, no fucking doubt. Those people are gifts. So go look him up. Go look up Matty Matheson on YouTube, Viceland, wherever you can. Next up, I'd say Claire Saffitz, for sure. She's an absolute beast in the kitchen. More so on the baking side. But man, dude, just her capabilities and her know-how, her knowledge, she's a straight up encyclopedia. She is amazing. Love her to death. Also, don't know her, but if somehow this video, she sees it in some way, she's fucking phenomenal. She's like the end all be all. Love her to death. She is it. She is it. I think in a sense for me, who's next to her culinary wise and like at the same level is not from YouTube. but she does have stuff on YouTube, but she's more from the Food Network, which is Ina Garten. Dude, both of them for me are just like absolutely mind blowing. Just again, their capabilities, their know-how, their knowledge, their understanding of what they're messing with to be able to know the rules and break them that way. Both of those women, amazing. So Claire Saffitz, Ina Garten, go look them up. Open your mind, open your heart, soul, everything, because you're going to learn some shit. I promise you that. You're going to learn some shit from both of them. And I'd say the next one is more geared on the YouTube side is Babish. So he has a show called Binging with Babish. Go look him up. Just type in Babish, Babish. That guy, again, if you're new to cooking, you want to learn, you want to understand, you want to learn techniques, you want to learn how to just function in a kitchen, but not have it be super difficult, go over to that man's page. If you don't know, now you know. You know what I'm saying? He's going to teach you everything. Cooking basics, techniques to hold knives, how to make proper French fries, everything. He's going to show you all these crazy techniques to do stuff. He'll show you how to work a sous vide. He's going to teach you how to make beautiful cocktails, how to use all these tools, all these things. Go over there. Just go. Go look up Babish. Open your life up. That man's going to change it for you. Promise you. And the next one that follows right after him is Brad Leone. Brad Leone is honestly one of the most beautiful human beings on this planet. And he just so happens to be an incredible chef. And again, I don't know him personally. I wish I did. I honestly wish I knew him personally. And Brad Leone and Maddie Matheson are really good friends. So when I see videos of them together, I just lose it. Because the amount of love, energy, good vibes that's between them, that's what the world needs. That's what people need to be watching. That's what we need to be seeing. But that man, the way he cooks and the stuff that he does, again, bar none. Crazy. And Brad Leone and Claire Saffitz came from the same kitchen. That's they both got really big on YouTube. And seeing them both at the same time was always really rad. But there was something about Brad that it really caught me. Just the way that he is, the way he carries himself, the way he pushes himself to do something cool, do something different, think far out. And his knowledge is amazing. And the way he shares it with people. And it's so special. Go watch it. Go check him out. So again, running through that list, we got Maddie Matheson, Claire Saffitz, Ina Garten, Binging with Babish, and Brad Leone. Go check those people out. You can find them all on YouTube, so you ain't got to leave and go to home, or what do you call it? I was going to say HGTV. That's crazy. You ain't got to go to Food Network. Don't worry about that. Stay on YouTube. Go look at it. Go look at these people, and you'll see why. I'm sure when you guys start watching their videos, you're going to be like, oh, yep. That's what Rob was talking about. So you'll see what's up. And then my last one is, what are my 3 favorite things to cook / make? However you want to, word that. Number 1, I would have to say is waffles. I love making waffles. I have a killer waffle recipe. Next up is pasta dishes. The reason why I say pasta dishes is because there's so much versatility within pasta that you can just kind of grab anything that you have in your freezer, toss it in a pasta dish, and it's probably going to be fire for the most part. Although the other day I tried to get a little experimental with some seasoning. I had some ground beef, and I'm not the biggest ground beef fan because it's not very fun. It's not which I know sounds weird to say, but it's not a very fun protein. There isn't much to it, right? Tried a new seasoning. It wasn't really a success. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't a success. But aside from that, pasta dishes, 10 out of 10. And my last thing, easily, it's a baking item. And I would have to say it's my Oreo cheesecake, because it's taken me years to perfect it. And when I finally did, it was like this golden light from the sky moment. And for the friends who've had the pleasure of having it, they understand, they know. So, man. And now that I talk about it, I'm craving it so bad. I got to make one. It's been a while since I've made one, easily over a year. And I don't know why, but I got to fix that. But man, yeah, that recipe is something else. I'd give it to you guys, but can't do that. Can't do that. Gotta keep my secrets. And that's a good one. But those are my three. So again, waffles, pasta dishes, and my Oreo cheesecake. So covering a little bit from last weekend, which kind of leads me into this week. I think the biggest thing that happened over the weekend that kind of determined what was going to happen this week is I was with my buddy Sebastian on Saturday, and we went over to All Terrain Garage in Fontana. And we were going to pick up his Jeep, trying to see what's up. The reason why we were trying to see what's up is because a couple months ago, we had talked about going to this thing called the Jeep Jamboree, which is in Utah and Sand Hollow. I'm not going to say, because I don't 100% know, so don't quote me on it. All my 4x4 peoples, I don't know. Relax. But to my understanding, it is one of, if not the largest Jeep event that happens essentially on the west side of the US. So we were planning on going to that. Sebastian was getting a bunch of work done to his Jeep. Didn't know if it was going to be done in time. Long story short, picked it up on Saturday and it was ready to go. So we decided, okay, well, you know what? Let's put the trip back on. Let's run it up. We don't have time for a shakedown run, which is kind of, to be honest with you guys, it's kind of spooky. Like anytime you do major work to your truck, you swap your suspension, you get new arms, you do new this, new that, steering components. You always want to do shakedown runs. And what shakedown runs are essentially is you're going to go to a local trail and put things to the test. You know, you're not going to push the truck as hard as you normally would, but you do want to put it through its paces to make sure that everything works right, nothing's going to break, this is that and the third. So we didn't have time to do a shakedown run. So our shakedown run is going to be this run in Sand Hollow for the Jeep Jamboree. Is it the smartest thing? No. But we out here, we're going to figure it out. So we're really excited for that. But Saturday and Sunday was just kind of prepping for this whole thing. Figuring stuff out. What do you need? What do we have to do? We did a lot of prep work on Saturday. So Sunday, we didn't really have to do anything. And I think now it's just like mentally preparing for the trip and where we're about to go, because I mean, it's going to be gnarly. We don't really know what we're getting into. I've never been. He's never been. And I mean, he has just had a bunch of work done with the Jeep. So we'll see. We'll see what it all leads to, But I'm really excited for that. And I think one of the bigger things too is just kind of what it symbolizes. Because I think the trip's going to symbolize a lot. And we'll get into it in a minute. But I think one of the bigger things to kind of start my week was, I guess I'm not even going to say one of the bigger things, but therapy was a rough one this week. It was really tough. Really, really tough. And it was kind of reiterating a few things and just tough pills I need to swallow that I'm not ready to swallow them yet. So I'm having to do it like a little bit at a time. And sometimes I feel like I go, what is it? 1 step forward and 3 steps back. But ultimately it's not like that. I always have to remind myself that therapy is not a linear journey, and that it's okay to kind of like to link between different stages and do different things. Like some days are going to be all right, and then I'm going to link back and it's not going to be so great. Some days will be okay. Some days will be great. And it will kind of daisy between all of them. But one of the things I was talking to my therapist about this week was the fact that I'm going on this trip. And she goes, considering how much of a connection you have with nature, she goes, I don't know why you haven't gone sooner, but I'm like, well, look, we just started the year. And I'm trying to plan trips, trying to go here, trying to go there, see things. But this is a really good one. It's a really good one. And it's going on this trip. It symbolizes, adventure. It symbolizes what I want out of life. And I need this. Like I need to see things. I need to experience it. And with people that I love and people that I care for, and that make me feel loved and cared for, and like I need that reset. I need to be in nature for a bit. I need to reset my batteries, because there's something about being in a place that's so big that makes me feel so small because it's exactly what the doctor ordered, you know? I need to be humbled in that sense. Like I just need to just feel something towering over me, an energy that's bigger than myself. Not like I'm in my head a lot, but I have been lately. There's been a lot going on. Like, I know I had mentioned to you guys a friend of mine had a surgery recently, and that whole situation's been really scary. It's brought up a lot of old shit that I've had to deal with in the last few months because we might be facing something kind of on the scary side. And she's really young. She doesn't deserve it. I don't think anyone I don't think anyone deserves to go through any sort of medical hardship, but especially when people are young, it's just like, God damn it, dude. It's fucked up, you know? There's been so much going on, so I guess maybe I have been on my head or in my head a lot. Things in my romantic life been kind of hectic, in my professional life kind of hectic. Like I don't really have a stable ground. Like my family's been hectic. Like so I need to get away from it. I need to step away. And it's not like the whole, oh, I'm going on vacation to breathe. Like, no. It's not like that. It's different. It feels different. It's not that kind of thing. Like, yes, I'm getting away, but I really want, as much as I'm going with Sebastian, like this trip is really for me too. And I want to make sure, and I told myself, I'm going to make sure to have my moments, sit on the edge of cliffs if I can, look out into the rock and just kind of understand, like, dude, this world and this life is so much bigger than what you got going on in your head. And I think it'll also help reinforce and remind me that a lot of the thoughts that I have are simply that. They're just thoughts. And as towering as they may seem, they're not real, and the emotions that come from those thoughts, sometimes they feel so real and they feel so big and colossal, but they're not. They're very small. And all they are just, they're little whispers, and you got to learn how to quiet them down to a certain extent. And I've been really in there lately. I've been really in here. I've been really, in my heart. I'm like, I got to relax. That's not it. So reconnecting and getting to experience this is going to be something really beautiful. And I'm excited to experience it with Sebastian, someone that's been in my life for such a long time. And granted, we had our disconnect, but I never felt like I was disconnected from him, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, we didn't speak, but it's not like I always felt that for him. Cause I mean, he's been in my life since we were, what is that? Like 9-10 years old. I'm 33 now. That's a long time to be in somebody's life. So getting to experience it with him, I consider my brother. So going to experience this trip with my brother, like I'm very lucky. I'm very thankful. Very, very thankful. And not for him, I wouldn't have this opportunity. So shouts to him for allowing me to tag along and go on this trip. And I'm going to take all my gear and get to shoot and do all kinds of stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited to show you guys all the photos, show you guys video, everything that I can capture. I want to share it with you, right? Because I love that. I love that now we've developed this kind of thing where I look forward to this every week. I get to share, whether it's stuff here on the podcast or on my personal page, I get to share my photography, any sort of media work. It's just, I look forward to it. And it's a driving force to continue to move forward. And especially since I'm in kind of like professionally in a little bit of a rut, things have been tough. This helps me to continue pushing forward. Because if I can continue seeking, I can continue giving, and the search will just never end. It'll be this really amazing cycle, And I've never really had a sense of wanderlust in a way. And all of a sudden I do. And I mean, I was supposed to be in Japan right now, but I had to make some decisions that were really tough, and which ultimately led to me not going this year. Next year's a different story. If everything lines up, things go well, which I'm putting that out into the universe that they will go well. I will be in Japan this time next year. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. But for right now, I'm looking forward to what's coming. And what's coming is Utah tomorrow. And then after that, I got a couple of trips planned for media, which is really exciting. So if I can continue doing these things and somehow mix my professional and my wanderlust together, I feel like it'll grow into something really beautiful. I know a lot of you, as you're listening to this or watching this, you're probably like, yeah. Like as I'm saying it, you're like, that's exactly what this fool needs. That's what this one needs for sure. Like he needs that. He needs that sort of wrap up where he can go here, go there, do this, do that, because of what it's going to give me. So I'm really excited for that. Honestly, it's something that I need. It's something that I've been longing for, and I owe it to myself. I think I've denied myself a lot of happiness. I've denied myself a lot of what I deserve, and I need to stop that shit, because I deserve so much more out of life. I deserve so much more love, so much more care, so much more experience. You know, I don't want to limit that anymore, because I deserve it. And I think all of us deserve that. We all have to see that. And it's tough sometimes, you know, to see what we deserve. And sometimes we think we're not worthy of it, or it feels weird or whatever. But hey, when life's trying to give you something, sometimes you just got to open your arms and take it, you know? And I wanted to keep this episode a little on the shorter side, just because I still got to prep for my trip, still got all kinds of stuff to do. But I just wanted to at least touch base with you guys and let you know what's going on, let you know about this trip. Again, what it's going to mean to me, touching on some of the food stuff, food going into art, which led into cars and all of that. But I'm really excited to share once I get back next week. I'm excited to share how that connection with nature went, how the entire trip went, how all the wheeling was, because essentially that's what this is it's a wheeling trip. We're going on a 4x4 trip. We're going to go climb up some boulders with the truck, see what the hell happens, and see how rowdy we can get. And I know people are going to be wilding out there. So without a doubt, I will have stories to share. And hopefully I will have some photos, video, that way I can share here on the cast as well. But without a doubt, it will for sure be on my personal page. So if you do not follow my personal page, please feel free to head over there. It's ROBTHISBAUS. I will catch you guys on the next one. But before I let you guys go, I almost forgot. That was crazy. That's crazy. I almost signed off with you guys and didn't give you some advice. I'm wilding out. I'm a little too excited. I'm excited not to end this podcast. I'm not excited to leave you guys, but I'm excited so I can continue doing my stuff, getting my gear ready. But a bit of advice. There's a really famous psychiatrist. Now I was thinking about it recently, but there's a really famous psychiatrist by the name of Carl Jung. He just so happens to have a lot of quotes throughout or within this field. But one thing he said was, your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. I'll read that one more time. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. And that's what I'm hoping to get out of this trip. That I can stop looking outside and dreaming about going somewhere, and that I can look inside and awaken something. And I hope that all of you can experience that ASAP. I hope you can all stop dreaming and look inside yourself and awaken that and go get it. Because it's there. It's for all of us to get. Whatever it is that you're looking for, whatever it is that you want out of life, it's right there, and it's for you and you alone. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for giving me your time, your love, your energy, your attention, for always supporting this show, for all the shares, the comments, all the things. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all. And I will see you guys next week on the next episode.